The views and opinions expressed here on Wrestling Winedown are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any other agency, organization, employer, or company. What's up, guys? It's Lo, and you are tuned in to Wrestling Winedown, a female-founded and hosted podcast dedicated to professional wrestling and our favorite adult beverage. Wrestling fans, myself included, love to tune in to Dark Side of the Ring. If you aren't familiar, Dark Side of the Ring is produced by Vice TV, and it explores the darkest stories from the golden age of professional wrestling and tries to find the truth at the intersection of fantasy and reality. I am so honored to be joined by one of the stars of Dark Side of the Ring, Lacey Lulu Creighton. Lacey is an actress based out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada, who had the amazing opportunity to star as Sunny in this season's Dark Side of the Ring. Lacey is spilling the wine on her longtime love of professional wrestling and what has kept her interested in the sport for so long. Lacey is also sharing the amazing story of how she found out about the Dark Side of the Ring role, how she prepared to play the role of Sunny, the feedback she has received from her episode, and what other episodes she's slated to star in on the series. Lacey also spills the wine on her own involvement in professional wrestling as the ring announcer for the Canadian-based wrestling company Superkick'd. And Lacey shares what advice she would give to others looking to enter the world of acting and professional wrestling. So grab your favorite glass of bubbly. We're going in for the 3 count. Welcome back to another episode of Wrestling Winedown. I am joined by Miss Lethal Lulu, Lacey Lulu Creighton. You might have seen her on Dark Side of the Ring this season. How are you?
Hi, Lo. First of all, gotta say it's a pleasure to be on the Wrestling Winedown. This is a sick show, and I'm super grateful to be invited on.
How long have you been a wrestling fan for?
Well, I think just because I was born in the end of the 80s and 90s. So that was my era. I think that with all children then were just kind of like forced upon them, which is awesome. I feel like I probably started watching it as soon as I was 5 or 6 years old, just by going to, I had a couple boy cousins. Like my mom was super, super girly and she had 3 girls and she was into fashion. And like, we only got to watch the Family Channel at our house. So unfortunately, because my dad liked golf and my mom liked fashion television, there wasn't too much WWE happening. But when I would go to like my boy cousins homes, and not to like gender it in any way, it's just this is my personal childhood memory that it was always on the TV. They always had the cool toys. And I guess as a child, because I had this like super girly mom, which is cool and it has its, benefits. Like I love being hyper feminine. That's part of my gimmick actually, is like totally inspired by the ultimate feminine. But I think I gravitated towards more of the like boy things. I was, dear Santa, can I please have a like electric Tonka truck, whatever they are, like
dirt bike. When you just said that, I was like, wait, dirt bike? Like,
well, I don't know what they were called, but they're like the 4x4 crazy cars. Like kids have drones these days. They're on another level. But I wanted like a science kit. I wanted all the like non-girly things. But I was a product of the 90s. So yeah, just my childhood that was involved. But just WWE. It wasn't until I was an adult that I discovered things like New Japan and all of the really incredible indie leagues and promotions.
What has kept you interested in wrestling for so long?
I would say there was a moment there. I ended up studying theater as my passion. I'm a thespian at heart. There was a moment there in my 20s where I was heavily involved in like the fine art community. I wasn't so heavily involved in the indie scene here. But when I moved, so I grew up in Brantford, Ontario, Wayne Gretzky, Pauline Johnson, and Alexander Graham Bell, and me. But when I moved to Toronto in 2006 to study theater, I guess I was like hardcore in that scene. And then it wasn't until like 6 or 7 years leading up to the pandemic that I started to go to the indie shows in Toronto. I started to go see everything I could, like anytime there was a Destiny show or a Smash show or an Impact or a Greektown Wrestling or a Superkick'd show, all these really amazing indie shows. That even when Ring of Honor would come here, I started to be exposed to that in my 20s. late 20s, I guess. And that like ignited a love and a passion in me to the maximum, because yes, I'm in my nostalgia is for the Attitude Era. I am one of those people who 100% loves that energy and wants that back. But what got me was, I think, Japan. I've never been to Japan, and I've always been such an admirer of pretty much any art form, whether it's I studied Ikebana, the art of flower arrangement. I'm interested in tea ceremony. I'm interested in so many of the beautiful traditions that come from Japan, because I just find it so, I want to use the word exquisite. Everything's just so like next level. And I guess it was being exposed to New Japan and my discovery of people like Bull Nakano and Megumi Kudo. As soon as I discovered them, I was like, whoa, mind blown as an adult. So because of my love for theater, and I also worked in the performance art world, I'm not to ever say that professional wrestling is that, but it does have elements of it's entertainment, has absolute elements of live theater, absolutely has elements of performance art, especially if you want to talk about ECW and the blood and all this, which is stunning. Like the imagery and deathmatch for me is wow, like beautiful in terms of a fine art, in my opinion. But it's also like grunge, and like I also feel like it's got a cool you energy, and it's also not fine art, it's very punk. And I'm so just there's just so much I don't know. It's like a mythology, the storylines, the history. I'm endlessly fascinated by the world of professional wrestling. And I had a great teacher in theater school that said, never dive into what you know, always dive into what you don't know. It is far more interesting. So whatever I do in life, it's so exciting to be like, wow, I love this. I can tell you I love it, but I also am every day I'm learning more and more why I love it. It's a really cool sport and art form, in my opinion. Also, Lucha Libre, I couldn't forget that. Oh my God, flying down to Mexico City and experiencing the CMLL for my first time in person in 2018 was also total life change memory. Like I'll never forget the experience of a Lucha Libre show down in Mexico. So look forward to going back to those anytime I get the chance.
What companies do you enjoy watching now? And on the flip side of things, who were some of your favorite wrestlers growing up versus who do you enjoy watching now?
Definitely would say Stone Cold, definitely The Rock. These are two people I would love to also meet, you know, like The Undertaker and Mick Foley and so many, Ric Flair, holy but I guess immediately I would have to say Stone Cold and The Rock kind of get my favorites from, you know, back then and also still today. And then today, I guess I would always say Bull Nakano, Megumi Kudo, and I would say, man, it's such a hard thing because I feel like so guilty when I answer this question. I'm like, how dare I not choose everyone? Funny enough, in the world of professional wrestling, I mean, not funny enough, if you follow me, it's going to be very in your face that I love Sable. I love a lot of the personalities that are not the wrestlers. I love the ballets. I absolutely love the entertainment character personalities. So I have to say, like as a child, and especially with this mother who was like high fashion and did have a Sable energy, like my mom was very much like that. I gravitated towards these kind of fierce, over the top, like, you know, people would say, oh, they're sexually objectified. I would say that's fierce female power right there. I was really drawn towards those personalities, which I don't really see so much of anymore. But I'm hoping to bring the energy back. Not all of my heroes were the wrestlers. They were the other personalities too.
Let's talk about Dark Side of the Ring. You recently portrayed Sunny in this popular show. How did this opportunity come about for you?
Wow, I've always been a fan of Dark Side of the Ring since it started. So this is, I don't know how many years ago, because they skipped a year there. They made us wait for the 4th season. How dare they do that? I guess I followed social media, and I always, whenever they did an Instagram live, I would be like on it. I'd be in the comment section just trolling it, being like, feature a diva, let's go. Like I want
I know that's
more
right.
of a female character
right
in here. I love them to, do like a Wendy or a China or some sort of female episode that I'm sure they'll end up doing as a wrestling lead. But it blew my mind when earlier this year in the middle of winter, because I'm an actor and I have casting workbook and all the like acting online casting platform profiles. I was scrolling, I was in a class, an acting class actually this past winter. I went back to study at Humber College here in Toronto. Although I do have my degree in performing arts, I'm trying to work towards like an MFA or a BFA. We'll see. I'm theater performances. I'm kind of a nerd about that too. So I went back to school this past winter and I'm in the middle of class and my teacher, a professional actor in the film industry, she was talking about casting and she shared her personal casting workbook screen with the class. And for a minute there, she's like, oh man, I shouldn't be doing this. She's like confidential information here. And for the split second before she shut her screen down, I saw Dark Side of the Ring. I was like, oh my God, Dark Side of the Ring has an audition right now. What the excuse my language. So I get on my phone in the middle of class and I sign into my casting. I recently just my agency, so it was on me. I didn't have an agent to put me out for this. I'm actually just now gonna hopefully maybe seek some new representation. It's a little bit rough in the film industry at the moment, as it's that's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
But I found the audition. Not only was it for a female role, it was for a diva, exactly what I wanted. It was for Tammy Sitch, Sunny, super controversial character, but also super like 100% number one character that I would want to play.
Mm-hmm.
I was made for this character, in my opinion. I was due that day. It was due that very, very day. So I had to be like, holy shit, after class, let's go. How do I do this? But how do I even get a hold of the casting department? This is like due in hours. So I, used my internet savvy skills and somehow got a hold of the casting department. And they said, hey, just choose Sunny promo, just anything she's done, recreate it, send it in. I chose two. I chose one of her in the ring entrances as the Bonnie Donnas, Sunny and Skip. Really, really funny. They're all preppy and like cute. And she comes in and she's just ripping apart the audience, talking about how fat and ugly and out of shape they are. It's a real heel promo. It's awesome. And then I chose a promo that she did with Farouk Assad for a SummerSlam, like for an Intercontinental Championship. I put everything I could into it. I gave literally my all, and here we are. I felt like they got the point that there was nobody else who was supposed to be cast as Sunny. So it was a pleasure it was really exciting. I jumped up and down when I heard that I got it. I had a really good feeling about it though. But to get the role, I 100%, I didn't do any backdoor, or I didn't have any connections. I went full actor route, audition route, like every other person applying for it. The extra little power that I had behind my audition was that I was genuinely a wrestling fan. I made that very, very, very clear when I applied. So I think that helped.
What were your emotions when you were preparing to play this role? What was the time difference between you accepting the role and then you filming and then getting on set? What emotions did you have?
Well, they make you wait 5 weeks after the audition until you find out. So that's I was like, I know I'm getting it. I know that this is mine, but I had to, wait probably about, maybe a month or until I found out. So that was, I had my stomach in a slight knot the entire time. Again, felt really confident about it, but actors shouldn't be judging their own performances. They can feel good about something that was trash too. And vice versa. You could think you did bad and you actually did well. And then we started shooting so it was January that I found out about the audition and submitted it. Probably heard in February. I think we shot in March.
Okay, so yeah, so that wasn't
something.
too big of a gap.
It's wild how film and television works. It takes them 7 weeks from shooting to end product to give you an episode. Of course, that is not involving all of the interviews that they do. A whole other team is off doing the interview portion of the show. But the reenactment studio acting that they do, which is so stunning and beautiful, I'm amazed. It's such a well shot, beautiful show. That takes, I think, surprisingly only 7 weeks. We shot the Marty Jannetty episode that is the season finale of season 4 after it premiered. The season premiered.
Oh wow!
Yeah, the Chris and Tammy episode was already out on May 30th, and I was back in the studio a week or so later doing the Jadetti and the Abdullah the Butcher episode, but those
Oh.
weren't even shot until after Tammy and Chris came out. So that just is how wild the television industry is. And we're starting, and I know, and I felt like I shouldn't say it, but I guess it's public now that the season 5 of Dark Side of the Ring is coming.
Yeah.
And we are starting to shoot that next month. So I feel like you won't have to wait a whole year before this comes out. So I'm really excited about that.
How do you properly prepare to star as Sunny in Dark Side of the Ring? How did you prepare? Did you watch footage? Did you watch interviews? Like, how did you get in that mindset? I'm playing this character. This is who I'm reenacting.
This is, again, a super controversial character because she absolutely is a villain in the eyes of the law and in the eyes of the wrestling world in many ways. But in many ways, she's still the charming, incredible, amazing Hall of Fame Sunny. So it's very like
night and day almost.
Night and day. To prepare for the role, it was an absolute pleasure and like no problem, no brainer to watch everything she's ever done that I could possibly find. So much fun. So I basically just deep dived YouTube and just deep dove the internet. And I just, every day, I was just looking at her. It's really fun because she's so expressive and she has this like cheerleader background from high school and she has this like very dance-like quality, which kind of reminds me of when I was fresh out of high school too. I was like super athletic, like into theater, into performance. So there was a lot of things that were naturally quite similar with myself and her, but it was fun to watch her physicalities and the way that she spoke because you have this like baby face who's actually a heel, but on the outside she looks like a baby face. So to prepare, so I watched everything that I possibly could, but I think the most important thing that I did was I read her autobiography, A Shattered Star, which I think you can just buy on Amazon. You can probably find a PDF on the internet. It's quite a good read. I actually think her story deserves a like mini TV movie. In fact, I actually think it deserves its own episode, but I think due to legalities right now, Darkside could not. I know they couldn't get a hold of her. Her lawyers are very, very harsh, of course. But the autobiography, I think she wrote it in 2006, I think while she was in prison. And it's very much her voice, which is really refreshing because a lot of autobiographies from celebrities are done by a professional writer.
Right.
Taking what they've said, but it was very clearly her writing. And wow, like even just the story of the day she was born is crazy. And we didn't even touch on that in the episode. Her story with her father, this big, huge, enormous Russian man who loved to eat and loved to drink. This character in her life was like so important, and her losing him at such a young age, I think, contributed to insane amounts of internalized trauma that wasn't dealt with, especially given the times. I'm so grateful that we as a society have a better conversation about mental health and more accessibility towards mental health care right now, but that wasn't really happening in the 90s. But how I felt, the feelings, it also really kind of is pulls on my heartstrings because there is people I know who battle with substance abuse and unresolved traumas that I know firsthand what that looks like. I myself am a huge advocate for mental health. I see a therapist. I can openly say I'm a survivor of childhood trauma. And I think that that aspect of Sunny's story, Tammy Sitch's story, made me, I guess I had a lot of really close feelings in my heart because I have a lot of compassion for this. And I feel like it's so easy to villainize people with addiction and mental health issues, is what I personally think this is what we're talking about here is. That's my personal opinion. And so I try to approach the role with that level of heart and compassion as well, just from personal experience of seeing people that I love deal with similar things.
What feedback did you receive once the episode aired?
So fun to be the first episode of season 4 because the premiere that was held in Toronto at the Royal Cinema in Little Italy here in Toronto was, the big marquee board, Dark Side of the Ring. The fact that it was the Chris and Tammy episode, the premiere felt extra special because it was specifically the Chris and Tammy episode. And the response was incredible. It was amazing. I feel like I got such an awesome new following from this beautiful, supportive professional wrestling community, which is another reason why I love wrestling. I should go back to that first question. I love professional wrestling because of the people. I meet so many cool people. You are one of them. I just feel there's such like, wow, now I'm rambling, but there was a show that I went to years before the pandemic at a little tiny high school in Etobicoke here in Ontario. But there was two little girls in the bathroom on the bathroom break, and they were taught, and I just love when I see children at wrestling shows, and I especially love when I see little girls at wrestling shows. And the one little girl says, "Hey, is this your first wrestling show?" And the other one was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Oh, I've seen so many. I've been going, for however long." And she's like, and the one little girl's like, "Why do you love wrestling so much?" And she said something so beautiful. I wish I could say it word for word, but she basically said that in school, if you don't fit in or you don't really belong or you're kind of like an outcast, you can come here and you can be a hero here. You can be embraced here. And so in a way, that's what I feel in this community. So a lot of my love for this community comes from the people, or from the sport, comes from the whole entire community, the entire fan base. So yeah, a great response with the show. I will toot my own horn. I think I've said this a couple times before, but I'm so honored to be told by the director that myself and my friend who played Abdullah the Butcher were like his favorite castings in the history of the show. He felt there were, and I was like, wow, that's the best compliment I could have ever received ever. Especially as an actor, I don't want the actor to be seen. I want you to see the character. I want you to think that for a split second, you're actually seeing Sunny. That's her on the other side of the camera. That's the goal. I don't want you to see Lulu or Lacey. I want you to see that. That's actually the art of what acting is to not be seen as the actor. But he said there were a few kind of jaw-dropping moments with Abdullah and with myself that he felt were like shocking. You couldn't see the actor anymore. It was kind of that magic where you see the real person that is being portrayed. And I thought that was the greatest compliment. That is the best thing I could have ever received as a response to the work I put into that episode. That really makes me happy. Also, just the stunning imagery, like a really good response to even just the behind the scenes photos. And it's still going. Like there's a lot of people who still haven't even seen it yet, and they're only seeing it now. So it's the gift that keeps on giving. But wow, to not just make it about Tammy, the Chris Candido story is, if the people listening right now haven't seen it, it's beautiful. It's basically the Chris Candido story, and Tammy's there because you couldn't really tell the story without her. But it's really amazing. Like your heart, like you don't cry watching this episode. Like I don't think you have a soul. But really, it's the Chris Candido story at the end of the day, and it's really, really beautiful. I got to like connect with Johnny Candido. It's the kind of domino effect into my real personal life in professional wrestling. It's been fantastic because of all the super cool people I met through being on this show. It's just touched my heart, and I have these cool new connections and these cool new friends. So I've been really grateful for that.
You mentioned that you have been given this opportunity to come back to Dark Side of the Ring. You'll be on the last episode of this season. Are you going to be on next season as well?
Yes, I'm very excited. It's a really fun show. It's kind of like American Horror Story, where every season you get a lot of the same actors as different characters. I would absolutely love to be the Jessica Lange of Dark Side of the Ring. But I feel like it's an honor to kind of be their go-to for the blonde characters. So that kind of, okay, I guess I've given something away. I'm playing someone who has blonde hair.
Sable?
Well, I just don't think she's had a tragic enough life to be featured on Dark Side of the Ring, but her story with Vince McMahon, I think, should be in there. So we'll see. But I cannot say. I gotta say it's not Sable, but it's another blonde character. Just not Sable, unfortunately. But we'll see. I know for a fact that if they ever feature her, I'm gonna 100% slay people left and right for that role. It's gonna happen. Yeah.
So as you mentioned, you are an actress and you've been acting for years. You mentioned that you went to college for it. What originally got you into the field of acting and performance?
Oh man, I don't really remember not loving this since I was a child. I think about this a lot. What is it that specifically? And I think the first memory I really have was the first theater show I ever saw in my whole life. I mean, I do come from a family, the East Coast of Canada. My mom's side's from New Brunswick, and they're all really funny. And there was some humor was a special, special thing that it was like we'd had an abundance of humor in our family. And you were taught that performing and making fun and being witty and joking was always like rewarded in our family. I have a lot of funny family members, and they would play with us, and they embraced play and shows and all, you know. So my family already was like embraced the arts, but I'm the only person in the family that became an actor. I mean, on my mom's side, like not by blood, I'm related to Wendy Crewson. That's like my one famous actress, like relative. But I think my first memory is going to my very first theater show when I was in daycare. I was probably 4 or 5 years old. It was very cute. We went to see Little Orphan Annie at the Sanderson Center in Brantford, Ontario. I just remember the red velvet seats. I remember the lights going down. I remember every time when I was a kid in a theater show being so like, I was off the edge of my seat, really long, and like my spine, really alert, and would not take my eyes off the stage. I was not a kid that like joked around. I thought it was such a special experience. And I felt like some sort of magic, like it elevated the mundane reality, and you somehow were transported to some other world. And then the lights come back up, and then boom. It's kind of like when you go to the movies, but
Right.
something about theater. I've always just there's something you cannot explain about the live act happening right in front of you. So then my dad was really, cute. He would take my sisters and I to go see Cats, or we'd go see like Riverdance, and that would always be a special time in my childhood. I had a little bit of a rough childhood in some ways, so the theater was like it always represented joy and happiness and like the best memories I could possibly have. And I wanted to know what it was to do that. How do I make that for other people? I want to give that experience because I love this experience. So the same with wrestling. When I started going to see the indie shows here in Toronto after I'd moved here, and after theater school, I sat in the seats being like, holy shit, I got to be up there. I don't want to be in the seat right now. I want to be giving this experience too. I want to be a part of this experience. To go back to my childhood, my sisters and I always put on plays for the family. Like I would direct them. We would full blown costumes, full blown like rehearsals, like work for a whole entire week to do a show. I remember going to little garage sales and seeing a sparkly outfit and begging my mom for it. Not something I would wear to school, but something I could perform in. I always thought it would be fun to like put on makeup and dress up. I guess because we watched a lot of fashion television as a child. That was like always on TV. Something about dressing up and putting on a show and making people happy. I just loved the feeling. I was also like afraid. It was kind of like facing a fear. My first time ever doing a speech contest was in grade 5, and I ended up winning. And that was another reason why I wanted to pursue being a live performer, because
Mm-hmm.
I was able to transform that nerve into another energy, into a presence. And I was able as a child to start learning how to face that fear of having a voice, of standing in front of people, of giving some sort of gift of a storytelling, and being rewarded. As I thought, wow, my whole class liked me, my whole teacher liked me. Oh, so like let's keep doing this. I want to keep doing things that get people excited. And it was exciting to me because it's never not been getting on stage or even doing a show. It's always nerve wracking. I've never just been like, oh, chill, no problem. It's like there's a level of fear I face every time. And that's always like a thrill to me too. I'm like a glutton for that kind of thrill. There's nothing like being in front of a live audience. There just isn't. Film acting, love it, want to do more of it for sure. But I worked my whole 20s in a avant-garde theater company here in Toronto called the Katazuki Collective. But I hadn't done a show with them since like 2015. And the professional wrestling world is like, I get that energy and I love it. I love it so much. This is why you see people like Ric Flair, they're still gonna go. They're still wrestling because I don't know, there's such a thrill. It's such a thrill. Kind of just addicted to that thrill.
Along with being an actress, you are also a ring announcer for Superkick'd based in Canada. When did you start this endeavor and how has it treated you so far?
Superkick's been the best. Every single person, they're all, even though they're so badass and hardcore on the outside, they're all angels on the inside, and I love it. They make me feel so supported, so they take care of me so well. I did not start working with Superkicked until February or March of this year. It was not until I'd always gone to the shows, but I didn't personally really become friends with the owner, Chris, HBK and Half Baked Kid, until we met on the set of Chris and Sunny. He played Shawn Michaels in the episode. So the day that we spent filming our scene together, we talked a lot. And I think he could see I had a huge, genuine passion. And after seeing my work on set, he's like, well, you want to do that in my show? The very next show they had, they do one every month, which is really cool. I got the opportunity to co-host and co-ring announce. This is like, I never in my life thought I would ring announce. Never. But I've always loved voice work. I'm trained in lots of dialects, singing, like tons of theater school voice training. It kind of just came naturally. I mean, I'm still learning. My first shows, I already am like, I don't want to watch them. Like, no, like, don't even, like, I can't watch a lot of the things I do. I don't even like watching my work, really. I'm kind of like, there's like some musicians that way too. They'll like work forever on an album and then be like, listen to it once and then never again. Like, that's kind of like me. I just got to keep moving forward. I've known this through being a performer pretty much my whole life. You're going to have feeling shows that suck and feel bad, and you're going to make mistakes, especially in professional wrestling. So much of it is on the spot.
Right.
Like, yes, there's certain levels of it that are predicted, but a lot of it is not. A lot of it is like happening on the fly right in front of you, and it's super improvised. Like, we don't know what to expect. So I'm learning a lot. I am loving ring announcing. I'm studying people like Lillian Garcia, who is a huge inspiration to me. People even like Joey Styles, absolutely hilarious. He's kind of like a heel announcer. And I would like to get better at this. I would like to continue, and I'd like to I don't know, I want to see where it goes. I absolutely love not just, I do backstage interviewing, and I also, kind of work as a hype girl host. But the announcing is super fun. I love the formality of it. I love almost like an avant-garde opera. It's very powerful, lots of vocal technique, and I love that. And I also just love that there's a level of creative freedom as well. I mean, of course, I want to talk to the wrestlers, and I want to customize it to each person.
Right.
Justin is also super inspiring to me, and he's such a cool person that every time he does anything, I want to listen to what he says. But yeah, I also am trying to watch some MMA fights because I love to look at the ring announcers in that world too, because I think for referees and for announcers, in my opinion, although I'm trying to I have my own Sable edge, my own Attitude Era edge that I'm trying to bring back, and hopefully can manifest that into a valet management position, because that's something I totally 100% know I need to do. But I love the super formality of the hosts, and I love the dress and the suit and and not just being juxtaposition with the extreme violence happening. And no idea I was going to be a ring announcer, but I'm loving it, and I'm going to keep doing it. And I'm so lucky to be a part of Superkick'd. They are so giving, so lovely. So I'm really lucky. I live very close. I'm in walking distance of their dojo, and they usually have it open training every Tuesday through Friday. And even just going and sitting in on the classes has been a beautiful experience. They run an excellent school. I can highly recommend it to anybody who's in the area and is interested in becoming a wrestler. Really grateful to be in the family.
What does it mean to you to be a fan for so long and now you're involved in professional wrestling? Like, growing up, being that 5 or 6-year-old Attitude Era gal, did you see yourself eventually being in professional wrestling?
Man, it makes me so happy. It's weird because it also just feels so natural. And I'm kind of take a lot of, I've been so embraced, and I feel like I've made a lot of ground this just year alone in the world. I don't want to take it for granted, but it kind of just came so naturally that it just feels like no brainer. This is what I should be doing. But it's also so exciting. I can't take it for granted ever, because yeah, I'm literally doing the thing that I watch and love. And why not try to do that? why not go for the thing that you love? Like right now, I just feel like there's nothing that can stop me. The pandemic sucked, especially in Canada. We had like the worst lockdowns. It was like 3 years, I feel like we had to wait. This is the first year since our like crazy lockdowns here that I've finally like somehow been able to come out of it. First of all, yes, like I feel like it's totally natural and like I was meant to be here. But I kind of feel like it's crazy. I kind of feel like it's crazy that I was like, hey, this is what I want, and then I like actively went for it and then it happened. I'm kind of like, what? I feel like I have to like reflect on this and then talk about it. Like wherever I am this time next year, I would love to talk and see where I'm at then, because it's really, really fun just to see
The
if you
progression.
keep putting work in, seeing what you can get from that. I am so excited about that. For me, actually, as a personal on a personal note, and I know this is called the wrestling Winedown, but I recently stopped drinking,
Okay.
just as like a life choice.
Mm-hmm.
And it not recently, but in like February of 2022. So yeah, like a year and a half. And just for anyone listening, I'm also an advocate for just like, health and mental health. And also, I think it's really cool to try sobriety. If anyone listening is interested in that, it changed my life. The level of focus that I got from like the clarity, and like I got really, really hardcore on like my life path. I think the pandemic made me feel like really stuck, and I had recently come out of like a horrendous relationship, and I hit like what I felt was like the lowest I could. And wrestling kind of it saved my life, because choosing to get really focused and then like took my mental health and my physical health, and I was like, you are now the top priority. Wrestling just it was hand in hand with that for me.
What advice would you give to other women who are looking to enter the field of either acting or ring announcing?
I want women to just do whatever they want whenever they feel like, do anything you feel like. I don't care how old you are. I want you to do whatever you want. So if you want to go into ring announcing, you want to get into sports right now, go for it. Do it right now. Change, like go back to school. I just went back to school this past winter to continue learning about the thing that I love, that I've already been doing for however many decades. You keep learning. And I feel like if you have any kind of envy or jealousy for another person, look at that. That's actually the thing that you want for yourself. You know you can do it. So do it. Like the thing in the other person that you wish you could have it. And if you have to, like, nobody feels like they know what they're doing. You just got to do it. I feel like this is all things that have been said many times in many ways by many successful people. And it's honestly so hard to just believe in yourself. But that's the biggest challenge, is every day believing in your own self, like how you talk to yourself in the mirror, how you talk to yourself in your head. It's the little tiny daily habits that you become what you practice. So be very, very selective who you keep yourself around. Be very selective of how you talk to your own self, because you are your own person, your friend that you keep around 24/7. You can't really escape yourself. So I would say if you want to be an actor, I think that doing some classes definitely is the way I think it works. I mean, some people are self-taught and are like, no, you don't need to go to acting classes. They're so expensive. They're a scam. After theater school, I ended up training at the Professional Actors Lab here in Toronto, which is the David Rodenberg School. Just before the pandemic, I was in another 4-week course with them. It's like a gym. So if you're an actor or you're a performer, you're working different muscles. They're not maybe this muscle. It's like all other different muscles. It's to go to an acting class is to go with a personal trainer and work acting muscles, and it's technique, right? So you can't really teach someone artistry, but I think you can absolutely teach technique. So I recommend a class in Toronto. I would say the Professional Actors Lab. And for ring announcing, I don't know how the hell you're supposed to do that. I'm figuring that out right now. How do you just get to be a ring announcer? I'm not really sure. I'm not sure how do I apply. If anyone from the hiring team of AEW, Impact, WWE, anybody listening, I would love to show you a demo. Like, let's go. I don't know how, but I want to do it. I mean, as I figure that out, I can help answer that question for women. But I feel like right now, just do it. Just go for it and just say, like, this is who I am. This is what I want. This is what I'm doing. And especially in the professional wrestling world, you will for sure find beautiful people who will for sure be supportive.
Thank you, Miss Lethal Lulu, so much for joining us here on Wrestling Winedown. Where can the people keep up with you on social media?
Lethal Miss Lulu on Instagram, on Twitter, and my t-shirt on prowrestlingtees.com. If you just search Lulu, you'll find me. My profile is on there as Lulu. Yeah, and I hope to have some new merch coming up.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Wrestling Winedown. You can find all of our other episodes available wherever you listen to your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and iHeartRadio. We are on Twitter and Instagram at WWDCAST. We also have our official merch store, which you can find at shop.wrestlingwinedownlv.com. Let us know what you thought about this episode. What was your favorite part? Until next time, enjoy your wine and, of course, enjoy your wrestling. Cheers!